Throughout the 1970s, a young, born and bred New York filmmaker called Frank Henenlotter began writing his first feature. He wrote the script while walking around Times Square at night. Henenlotter grew up on a diet of exploitation and sexploitation films screened on 42nd Street and was keen to write a low-budget film that captured the, quote, seedy but wonderful atmosphere of New York City at night. That film eventually became Basket Case, a horror movie about a psychopathic, deformed, surgically removed conjoined twin who is carried around New York City by his brother in a basket and goes on a killing spree. Basket Case was shot on a micro budget of $35,000 on 16mm film and took years to make. Eventually, it was blown up to $35mm when it was finally shown in theaters in 1982. And throughout the next decade, Basket Case grew in popularity through word of mouth, becoming somewhat of a cult phenomenon.
How about if I stick my tongue down your throat?
By 1990, Frank Henenlotter was able to make a glossier, more accessible movie that still maintained that emphasis on grimy New York sleaze and subcultures. This film was Frankenhooker. While both Basket Case and Frankenhooker are low-budget, provocative B-movies, both have become favourites amongst horror fans over the years for containing that unique Henenlotter mix of gore, sleaze, eccentric characters, and a surprising amount of heart. Join me as we continue exploring the evolution of man-made monsters, and we discuss two Frank Henenlotter cult classics, Basket Case and Frankenhooker. Welcome back to the evolution of horror. My name is Mike Muncer, and as ever, I am your host. In this podcast, we explore and dissect the history and the evolution of the horror genre, one subgenre at a time. We are currently in the middle of our 11th season exploring the evolution of man-made monsters, and this is part 18. In this week's episode, as that intro suggested, we are discussing a really fun double bill of movies. Frank Henenlotter cult classics, Basket Case from 1982, and Frankenhooker from 1990. Both of these discussions will be spoilerific. I mean, if you haven't seen these two bangers, give them a watch before you listen to our discussion. So, joining me to discuss these two bangers two of my very favourite people. It's been a while since the three of us have been together. My dream warriors, Stevie, Webb, and Becky Darke. Hello, guys.
Hello, guys. We were both so excited we couldn't even say hello.
Little excited whimper. I love it. Oh my God. Stevie, how long has it been? It feels like it's been far too long.
Well, the thing, I was thinking, I don't think I've recorded a podcast since I finished Brain Rot, but actually, didn't we do a Friday the 13th?
Oh, did we? Yeah, maybe we did.
But this is the thing, I'm like, hang on, did you re-release one? Or Exactly, you can't remember either, but my brain is mush. I'm like, did we do one not long ago?
We did, I think. I think we did the first Friday the 13th. But...
So this is, I haven't done a podcast since then.
Oh my God. How are you finding it, Stevie? You're fully back immersed in the world of theatre. You're starring in a show in the Globe Theatre right now, right? How are you finding it? Are you missing podcasting?
Well, I do in that when I watch one of my crappy films, I've got no one to talk to about it. Yeah. And so I'll pop one on and then I'll be looking around like, oh, how can I talk about Bog Munchers 5, as Becky would say?
Oh my God, that's a deep cut.
That was a deep cut.
Love
Bog Munchers
Bog Munchers 5.
Incredible. Do you still get time, Stevie, to go see any new stuff? Do you go to the cinema a lot?
Not that much. And I've got this Odeon Limitless going out of my account every month. Oh. And I keep saying, no, I'll make it back. I'll make that money back. All I need to see is 2 films. And that's basically 2 months worth. But I just haven't been for a long time. I've been doing quite a lot of... watching shit at home and doing home premieres and stuff, but I haven't been able to get out much.
It's hard.
But I listen, to be honest, I'm a Fresh Blood's biggest fan, and on every day of release I listen to the whole thing, and so I get all my info from there. and I know what to seek out.
I mean, literally same. I just leave it to the other guys.
Well, I know. That's my favourite thing as well. Mike's just always like, oh, that sounds good.
Exactly. I'm going to do, between Christmas and New Year, the taint week. That's usually when I'm like, right, I'm going to watch all of the stuff that Becky and Brad and Steph have said was good all throughout the year, and that's where I'll catch up before we do our big roundup of the year, you know?
And luckily for you, that's only about 3 films an episode.
Oh, God, it's quite easy. You just narrow it down to about 10 movies, basically, so that's perfect. Becky, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thanks.
Good.
Nice to see you both.
Lovely to see you.
It's nice being back in the plush, velvet-lined, plush carpeted world of the actual main podcast.
I know. You only actually get to come on here once a year or so, right?
I know, it's weird. It's weird being back. It's nice. It's nice here.
It is really nice, but you're so busy with so many things. You're co-hosting a Hammer Horror podcast with Kevin Lyons, of course.
Oui.
How are you finding that?
I'm absolutely loving it. I get to watch a very cosy Hammer horror film every week. I get to spend a couple of hours talking to the brilliant Kevin Lyons, aka Uncle Kev, every week. And I don't have to produce or edit any of it because you're doing it all. So
that's right.
It's a dream come true. It's an absolute dream come true. I'm loving it.
There you go. Hammer time, wherever you get your podcast. Little plug. Love it. So let's talk about this season's subgenre, which is kind of mad science, right?
Yes.
We're talking about everything from kind of Frankenstein all the way through to recent gems like The Substance. Stevie, what are your thoughts on this kind of area of kind of sci-fi horror?
Well, when I was younger and my parents would ask me what I want to be when I grow up, I would say a mad scientist. Not scientist. Not scientist. A mad scientist. Like, I thought that was a branch of science. Madness. Something that you could specialise in. And so I guess it obviously had an effect on me, this subgenre. But I love it because it's kind of limitless. You know, whatever you can think up, you can put it down to mad science. But also, it's grounded in the realm, and I use that term loosely, of possibility.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
Rather than, you know, an invasion from another world or a mythological creature, you have humans at the centre of it messing with things they shouldn't be messing with or committing monstrous accidents. And so it's kind of this playground. And so, it's something that I've always loved and obviously aspired to.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Well, you're not wrong, though, when you say it's kind of in the realm of possibility, right? I mean, like, a lot of those movies from back in the day were warning us about AI and robots and all the stuff that we now have, basically.
Well,
right?
That's it, isn't it? Because I think of the ever-evolving capabilities of modern science. It's a massive factor in it. You know, things that were science fiction 50 years ago are possible now. Yeah. And the endless possibilities and progression of that are just this hotbed for ideas. But also, having a great anchor of having human trial and error as the catalyst. There's always this cautionary or morality slant with these movies, I think, and they're, we're auto-tuned to sort of lock into those elements.
Yeah, for sure. Becky, what are your thoughts on this kind of subgenre of mad science in horror?
She says as she's filling her vape. You look like a mad scientist.
Do you know what is actually so funny is Stevie was chatting away. I sort of motioned to you like I just need to go and get something. It's because my insulin pump was shouting at me from upstairs.
Mad science.
And I realised that my vape pen was out of vape juice. So I'm like, all of my machines,
like a mad scientist. He's like filling potions
they're rebelling. They're rebelling against me. I'm having to top up all their liquids, you know.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
you looked a bit, is it green, your vape, as well? Because
no, it's pink.
Oh, okay. For a second, I thought it was green, and you looked a bit Herbert West or something, like filling it up, you know.
The films, though, I like them. I like a bit of sci-fi, and what's been really nice about your list for this season, Mike, is. As always, there are some movies that you're doing that I'm like, that's not horror. But what's so nice, actually, is that you can kind of, or one can like pick out all of the stuff that you sort of think like, actually, like, if you think about this for a split second, this is really horrifying and scary. So, yeah, I mean, I think as soon as humans start trying to be clever, it gets really scary. Everything was easier back before the Industrial Revolution, when all we had was like, I don't know, spades.
We should all just be Amish, is what you're saying.
Spindles and spades.
Spindles and Spades, my new podcast. I think that it's absolutely ripe for the most terrifying circumstances where experiments go wrong. Sometimes, not always, probably not often. A scientist or a technologist might sort of have a moral reason for kind of going down a certain path, but it never goes well, does it? So even then, even when somebody sets out with good intentions, they always go horribly wrong. And more often than not, as we know, it's not from a place of particular altruism anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's just ripe. I really, really enjoy them.
Yeah, don't play God is the main.
Don't play God.
Yeah.
Don't play God. Exactly, which dates back obviously to Frankenstein. We've talked about so many Frankenstein. We're going to talk today about a Frankenstein spin. Are you Frankensteined out, Stevie, at this point? I mean, we have hundreds of adaptations of this story, right?
100%. I'm Dracula'd out. I'm Frankensteined out.
Yeah.
And as of last year, I'm Wolfman'd out as well. Because that was not for me. I think the constant... I understand it and I respect it and I love its roots. But those movie maniacs that have outlasted everyone in that sense and everyone's got their interpretation, I'm a bit fatigued by it. I haven't even watched the recent Frankenstein just because I like even the Nosferatu, Robert Eggers, it was kind of quite a task for me to build myself up to watch it and be prepared for it, and I think I need another couple of years to like go back to one of those sort of films. So they've never been my favourites, but then you do get wonderful spins on it. Like I loved what was that that Frankenstein one a couple of years, My Monster, or no, not My Monster, no, the one with what's her name? Help me. Set in the 80s when she had a boyfriend that was Frankenstein. Lisa Frankenstein.
Lisa Frankenstein.
Lisa Frankenstein, yeah. So when you get these little standouts that are...
My Monster.
A kind of...
Well,
My
no,
Monster.
that's...
I don't know where that's...
No, My Monster, that was like the same sort of time, but it's Melissa Barrera, right? She's got the guy who lives in the closet.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Your Monster?
Right.
I don't know.
So there are standouts that pull me in and make me more interested in those particular characters, but as a whole, I'm not usually drawn that way.
And Becky, you've had to watch quite a few this year because you've been watching Frankenstein.
I was literally about to say, like, if I was bored of Frankenstein and Dracula, I would be fucked because I've got so many left to watch. So yeah, I mean, do you know what? I really like a Frankenstein. I can't think of any really that I don't like, and even the ones that kind of just take it as a rough source and kind of do something like completely different with it. I think that it's sort of the gift that keeps on giving for me, really. I really enjoyed the most recent one, the Del Toro one on Netflix. I thought it was really good. And again, sort of, even though, as we've discussed on Fresh Blood and stuff, like, the fact that it, in some ways, is the most faithful adaptation to the book, but is still finding ways to make it a Del Toro movie or to make it, something that's a bit different, putting the emphasis somewhere else, etc. And then, like, obviously, I am working my way through the Cushing ones over on Hammer Time as well, and they are really fun. And yeah, Stevie, like, you're right, like, Lisa Frankenstein was great. There was a fantastic one, I think you're covering this, Mike, Depraved, the Larry Fessenden one that I really enjoyed back in like 2019. So yeah, I'm quite happy with a bit of reanimation and madness.
And I even took you, a couple of times now, we've been together to Frankenstein's Bar in Edinburgh, the greatest place on earth, Becky.
Literally. If we have anything to thank Mary Shelley for, it is Frankenstein's Bar in Edinburgh.
Absolutely.
And maybe Weird Science.
Yeah. I remember the time, Mike, it was when you were still like play testing Final Cut, and you and I were in Edinburgh doing a screening up there, and you had a like test deck, and we took it to Frankenstein's in Edinburgh, and we were testing it out while we were drinking and like eating chicken wings and stuff in there. And we were sat there for about 4 hours at least. And what they do in Frankenstein's Bar, if you haven't been, is they show the original Universal Frankenstein like on mute, but on the screens. So it's just kind of like playing on loop all the time. And by the time we left the bar, I said to you, Mike, I was like, I know that I haven't just sat down and watched it, but I reckon I've just watched the whole of the Universal Frankenstein. So am I allowed to log it on Letterboxd?
Yeah, exactly. The amount of bits of it we kept catching for 4 hours.
Passive watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so good. So good. And of course, we've got Frankenstein and Mary Shelley to thank for one of the films we're going to talk about today, which I'm very grateful for. We're going to talk this week about Frank Henenlotter. Crazily, this is the first time we've really talked about this guy on the podcast.
Unbelievable.
Stevie, I'm sure it's not the first time you've discussed Frank Henenlotter.
No.
Who was Frank Henenlotter? Who is Frank Henenlotter?
Well, he's a true New Yorker, and he grew up at a time when in the 50s when 42nd Street and the grindhouse cinema movement was absolutely at its peak, where they would show all these cheaply made exploitation movies that were transgressive guerrilla filmmaking most of the time. And he grew up watching that, and he didn't go to film school because he always says that the grindhouse movies were his education, and as a kid he was making movies on his 8mm and they were mostly parodies when he was younger, parody horror and exploitation troped trash.
Right.
And then in the late 70s, he had this idea for Basket Case, which was just from the phrase basket case. And he thought, it's such a great title. What could I do with that? And so he kind of made it a bit literal and thought of a basket with a monster inside, as simple as that. And he just set out to get it made in the style of those movies that he grew up watching, and through fucking graft and a lot of time. I think it basically took years to make, where he would raise a little bit of money for this idea and film a short amount, and then show that short amount that he's filmed to someone else and say, we want to make more of this, and they'll go, all right, here's $800, and they'd film a bit more with that $800, and when that ran out they'd show that footage, and it just went on and on and on, showing bits and bits and bits. That's why there's a lot of inconsistencies, and some actors drop in, some drop out, because it was over such a long amount of time. But that's who he was. He's truly of that era and that type of filmmaking, and he became a master of it, I suppose. He's one of the big three, I say, of the 70s to 90s grindhouse directors.
Who are the other two?
John Waters and Ferrara, I guess.
Yeah.
And Larry Cohen's in there as well somewhere. But
Becky, anyone who listens to you on any podcast will know that you love a New York kind of grimy New York sleazy filmmaker, whether it's Abel Ferrara, whether it's Larry Fessenden, those sorts of people, right? What do you think of Frank Henenlotter, and how would you kind of describe his work in comparison to some of those other filmmakers?
I absolutely love him. I think he's a bit of a underrated genius. Like, you watch his films and they are this incredible mix of like heart and just absolute insanity. But it's always insanity with a purpose. Like, he's so good at telling a story, and often with like, it's not just exploitation or grindhouse kind of for their sake. It's always kind of like he's a storyteller, he's a movie maker. And I always find myself, and will probably come on to recount the story of me watching Basket Case for the first time at Regent Street Cinema, but I always find myself on an absolute emotional roller coaster with his films. I just think he's so amazing. I love him. And in terms of kind of how he stands out, I mean, yeah, you're right. I absolutely love a bit of New York sleaze, especially like this kind of era, like sort of 70s through the 80s. And I mean, his stand out more because they do have more of a kind of fantastical element to them. Like, he's got these like literal monsters in his films that are always kind of rendered in these slightly shonky effects. Like, and he'll sort of mix stuff up as well. So there'll be kind of like handheld stuff and puppetry, stop motion. There'll be kind of like digital effects, which we see in both of these films, and you see it in films like Brain Damage as well. Sort of all layered on top of each other to like really create these creatures. And another thing about them is they are always completely adorable. And by the end of the film, I fall in love with them, whether that is Belial or Elmer from Brain Damage or like Frankenhooker from Frankenhooker. Like, I just love all of them. He's a bit like a Del Toro. Like, I feel like he has so much sympathy with the monsters.
He loves the
his
monsters.
Movies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is, I suppose, Stevie, it kind of connects to what you said about the John Waters-ness as well. There is that feeling of loving the outsider, right? The weirdo in Henenlotter's movies, you know? Yeah,
definitely. And that with those three, they each have unmistakable tones, don't they? You know, but they all have comedy in their DNA. You know, Waters is obviously overt and camp and wacky and in your face, and Ferrara is more cerebral and metaphoric and surrealist, and then Henenlotter, it has this balance though, which I think is what you're saying, Becky, where you find that heart between earnestness and caricature, and having those two things interacting just creates something so special and tonally unique. But they also all have this sweaty, dangerous through line with them. But it's funny because when you were saying about that, what I think is wonderful about him and what makes him such an incredible director is I don't think he means to make it as deep and beautiful and heartfelt as it is, because he always says, in interviews, he's like, I just set out to shock and make people gross out and stuff like this. But he obviously can't help but also be brilliant at creating these human elements that really draw us in and make us give a shit.
There is a certain, you're right though, Becky, like there is a certain kind of sweetness about his movies, despite how like grotesque and over the top they are, right? And that is something really endearing about them, I think, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Like Dwayne in Basket Case, and like he's so sort of sweet and naive, innocent. And the bond between him and Belial is so lovely. And like, I don't know. Yeah, it is. There is a sweetness. There's a sweetness there. Whether Henenlotter means it to be there or not, I wonder if you're right, Stevie. You just can't help it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, there you go. Well, let's get into it. We're going to begin with Basket Case. Oh my God, Becky, do the honours, please. Let us know what Basket Case is all about.
About a decade ago, a young boy named Dwayne Bradley was forcefully separated from his conjoined twin by a couple of vets called Dr. Needleman and Dr. Cutter on the orders of their father, who shunned the brother as an inhuman freak and blamed him for the death of his wife during the birth. Presumed dead after the surgery, the twin, named Belial, and who looks a bit like a chicken nugget with teeth, had a love child with a testicle, kills their dad, and both boys go to live with their kindly aunt, who likes to give them cuddles and read them Shakespeare. However, after she passes away, Belial is bent on bloody revenge against the doctors who cut the boys apart, and Dwayne takes him to New York City to seek them out. But amidst the carnage, love blossoms between Dwayne and Dr. Needleman's receptionist, Sharon, and causes a violent rift between the brothers, resulting in one of the truly most tragic endings ever committed to celluloid.
Yes. Oh, it is a tragic ending. Oh my God.
Well said.
So first of all, Stevie, what do you generally think of Basket Case? What's your kind of history with this movie?
Well, on my Letterboxd, it's one of my top 4 films of all time.
Oh, I love this.
And it's rooted in my DNA, and it was formative in the person that I became and the adult that I am, truly. Because as we know, I loved my rubber monsters in the 80s VHS store, and I grew up with that. But Basket Case was an anomaly for me because I avoided it for a long time, because the VHS cover art for this one was so unsettling and mysterious. It's this black and white shot of this basket open, and you can't quite see what is coming out. You can just see a bit of Belial's hand and a bit of his face, a tiny bit of his eye. And it was something about it being black and white with this red writing dripping saying Basket Case that got under my skin and unsettled me. All the other covers that I was looking at, Ghoulies was a green imp coming out of a toilet. Critters was like a critter posing to the camera, holding up two fingers for the second one, like in a peace sign. All this sort of stuff that was absolutely marketed towards children and the underage, and or those with a brain of that age at least. And Basket Case I avoided because it just looked terrifying. And I eventually built up the courage, because I remember seeing the sequels next to it, and the covers of those look much more silly, and they were in colour, and there's like a pram with all these silly limbs coming out of it, and a fun tagline, like here's seconds, or I can't remember what it was, something stupid like that. But I eventually did rent Basket Case, and I must have been 10, and it scared the shit out of me.
Really?
And I wouldn't let my parents know, because nothing really scared me, it just excited me. But this truly, truly frightened me. And it's all attributed to the things we've talked about the scuzziness, the sketchiness, the almost scuzz? No, what's the word?
Like a kind of snuff.
Snuff, there you go. Yeah. Thank you, scuzz.
Scum.
Chum? Scum. It almost felt snuffy. Like you're watching camcorder footage, and it truly got under my skin, and so therefore it became a fast favourite, and it still does to this day. It brings all those feelings back. The first time you see Belial, I mean, we'll get into it, but and at that point, they haven't even got eyes for him when we first see him on the wall. It's just two eye sockets, two holes in this puppet, and that image, I think, really stayed with me, and I just think it is a perfect film.
It is, isn't it? It is a beautiful movie. Becky, tell us about... We've told this story, I think, before on the podcast, but tell us about your first experience of watching this movie and what you think of it generally.
Was this Prano?
Yeah.
So we hadn't known each other long, Mike. I think we'd probably known each other about 6 months.
Right.
And we both went along to a screening of Basket Case that Prano Bailey Bond had programmed. And I really didn't know what I was in for. So I had very little sort of historical knowledge or context about what Basket Case was about. Sort of the opposite to Stevie, really. Like, I saw the picture and I was like, yeah, great, let's do that. So went along. There were half a dozen of us, I think, and Mike and I were sat next to each other, and then like another 4 sort of people along the row. And I have never been so emotionally affected by a cinematic experience in my entire life. Like, we're talking, remember when you're a kid and you go to see like The Land Before Time or The Lion King, and like you have to be sort of taken out because you're like you're too involved, you're too upset, you're overwhelmed. Yeah, I needed a nap. Oh my God, I almost slipped into a coma at the end of this film. So I was sitting forward in my seat. I was kind of squirming around. I was gasping out loud. I was chuckling with laughter, covering my mouth, covering my eyes. By the end of it, there were real human tears like streaming down my face. It was an absolute roller coaster ride, and I loved it so much. Little Belial is my little spud pal. Like, I just want one. I feel so sorry for him. I want to protect him at all costs. I know he's a bit naughty, but aren't we all? And I just love it. It is, I completely agree. Perfect movie, 5 stars, 0 notes. When we did our 80s horror Halloween night in Oxford this year, we had a panel, and it was Mike hosting, and then there was me and friends of the pod, Jamie Graham and Matt Draper. One of the categories that we had to sort of submit for our 80s horror hall of fame was your favourite movie from the 80s, your favourite horror movie from the 80s. And I said Basket Case. I adore it. In every single possible way.
Incredible. Yeah, I can attest to the fact that Becky looked like it was like an advert for cinema, you could imagine just looking at this person's face in an auditorium with tears of awe and wonder in their eyes, just experiencing the magic.
Had you seen it before, Mike?
I had. So I had seen it back in the day from my video store. I was probably a bit older than you, Stevie, probably about 14 or something.
Yeah, I love Stevie. I couldn't help laughing when you were eventually.
Yeah, I put it off for years.
Eventually,
I got it around. Eventually, I got around to renting it. I must have been about 10.
I did start.
I was a latecomer to Basket Case. I was 10 years old. So yeah, I'm somewhere in between Becky, who was about 35, and Stevie, who was about 10. I think I was in my sort of teens at some point when I watched this, and remember finding it really stupid and really fun. And I think it was one of those experiences of watching it with a group of friends.
Yeah.
And we all just kind of half paid attention, guffawing at it and kind of not taking it that seriously. So I always kind of thought of it as this kind of fun, silly movie that I never really thought twice about. And then it wasn't until I watched it in the cinema with Becky that I was but actually I had a similar experience to you as well, in that watching it on the big screen, and I think now maybe appreciating a little bit more the filmmaking behind it, I was wow, this is just an incredible piece of work for something that was just done micro budget over such a long period of time. And I think when you know the stories of how these things were made, you kind of love it even more, don't you?
Totally.
So yeah, I love it. I love its vibe. I love Belial. I love the horror, but I also love all of the weird and wonderful characters, particularly in the hotel.
God, them.
That for me is what really makes it. It's got such a personality, Stevie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the world building that Henenlotter creates it's paramount to the film's success. The people that we meet and the chaos around that help to create the backbone of what the movie is. And each character, you want to have their spin-off and follow what the fuck is her deal and what goes on behind that door. And there's people like Beverly Bonner who plays Casey, I think it is, and I think she's in all of Henenlotter's films. She makes a cameo in all of them, but she just brings something so real to the character that you do want to know more about her and you want to follow her, and she's kind of motherly and warm, and then and it really paints a picture. We've talked about this before about New York in films at this time, and how we were fascinated by it because we were taught it was dangerous, but it's sexy and exciting. There's people with opening their Macs and they've got all these things in their coat that you can buy on the street, drugs, whatever you want. And this encapsulates that so perfectly because it doesn't put you off. It entices you, the danger and the griminess of it. And even when, he gets to the hotel, that thing of someone who runs the hotel being so perturbed at the possibility of business and sort of distrusting. It's
you want to hang out with his mates.
You want a room? Yeah. How long for? What? You got money? And it's that's so unwelcoming. And it's that vibe that you just go, wow, everyone is just on edge and it's every man for themselves there. But in this hotel, he creates this sort of this fractured community that you just kind of love.
Yeah, there is a kind of community feel to it at the same time, right? Becky, from when it begins, right, and he's walking down the street with his basket and even seeing all of the peep shows and strip clubs and everything that he walks past on his way to that really horrible hotel. again, it kind of really captures, I mean, what we all were probably all too young to experience, right? But particularly New York at this time was kind of thought of as a really kind of scuzzy, dangerous, crime-ridden place, right? And this movie sort of captures that so well.
Oh God, yeah, definitely. Like you say, the sort of peep shows, and it's just absolutely bathed in neon of every kind of colour and hue that you could possibly imagine, with, you know, sex shows and peep shows, and you've got dealers kind of peddling their wares to him. And again, this idea of like just being annoyed. So they're like, the drug dealer at the beginning is like, you know, you want crack, you want speed, you want coke, you want uppers, you want downers,
that amazing long list,
blah 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 blah. And then he's like, you want girls? I got girls. You want girls? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then poor Dwayne, who's just like come from bumfuck middle of nowhere with his little basket, is just kind of walking down, like looking a bit nervous, looking for his hotel. And the fact that this guy, this peddler, is just like so cross that he's like, oh, nothing for you then, huh? Well, fuck you. It's amazing. And it's just even just that that interaction between the two, you don't even need it to be this huge kind of Times Square full of characters and extras and people and hubbub and noise and you know, there's just this sort of one-on-one that really perfectly like encapsulates that kind of vibe and the sort of like danger and just general kind of like just sort of fractiousness of this city.
Yeah, completely. And so we meet Dwayne, played by Kevin Van Hentenryck, right? Kevin Van Hentenryck. Yeah. What do you think of him, Stevie? What do you think of Dwayne and this lead performance?
It shouldn't work, but it is so perfect because he's not an actor. You know, but the thing is, like, he did do theatre at the time, but he was also a sculptor, and I think now after this, well, he appeared in some Henenlotter films, but then just went full-time into art and sculpture. But he is perfect because it's we mentioned it earlier, but the innocence that he brings to it is not acted innocence. It's clearly just this guy who's being asked to run around naked in New York and hold a basket and you know, has 2 months off, and it's like, oh, we're carrying on with the film, and you can just see he's like, what is happening? And he's just going with it, and it just works so well for the character. And so you truly believe this bond between him and Belial, and I think he is perfect. I don't think he would be right in anything else. No offense to him, but it was real lightning in a bottle. And I think that's one thing Henenlotter does incredibly. Like, he can clearly see something in someone that maybe they can't see or haven't discovered yet when he casts people. I mean, he likes his male leads usually fraught and sleep deprived and bloodshot eyes. That's like it's one of his calling cards. Yeah. But he knows how to cast. He knows exactly what he wants, and he knows how to get it out of someone. I mean, he obviously inspired Beverly Bonner by making her do this, because she created a one-woman show after this, where it is a sequel of her character, and I think she becomes roommates with Belial, and she like toured, and you can see footage of it online. Like, God. She had, I think it was like Belial and Me or something like that 30 years later.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
As a sitcom. I want to see it as a sitcom.
And you can see, and honestly, it's quite fascinating when you go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, I just think Kevin is perfect for it, in that he doesn't know how to do it, and therefore he does it perfectly, if that makes sense.
That's perfectly put. Becky, he is a bit kind of like rabbit in the headlights, isn't he, throughout the whole thing?
Completely. Yeah. And he does bring, as you say, Stevie, this kind of like accidental, natural innocence to the character. And you sort of need that, because Dwayne, like, he grounds stuff amongst the absolute, like, unhinged chaos of everything else.
You need the straight character, don't you?
You do.
Earnest.
Yeah, he is earnest. And yeah, I mean, I think that it is, as you say, like, perfectly played. And then you've got these moments where not only is he the kind of innocence, but he is the sort of straight man for some of the comedy that then like sort of bounces off of him. Like his interactions with the puppet are... Or even when it's not a puppet, even just his interactions with the basket.
Yeah.
When he'll be literally acting against a basket. That is it. And he will be, you know, emptying hamburgers or like hot dog sausages or something into it. Yeah, and all you can hear is like...
I've never questioned why Belial is so insatiable. Like, why does he have to eat
Where
that
does
much?
he put
12
it all?
burgers. Yeah.
It's just...
Does he shit? Like, what?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was like, how much does that basket smell, I wonder?
Oh, I think it looks very clean.
It does.
But yeah, so like... Or when he, God, it breaks my heart when Belial is hiding in the toilet and Dwayne comes in and he finds him and he's sort of saying to him like, yeah, like I went out for a date and yeah, I'm sorry that I lied to you. And because it's this one-way conversation, but he can hear Belial in his head, again, he's acting to nothing. And so it's like, yeah, you know, of course, I'll never abandon you. And he's got this like, this fucking ridiculous rubber puppet.
Yeah.
In a towel, kind of like drying him off out of the toilet where he's just been hiding because he's just brutally murdered somebody in the hotel room. And my heart is breaking. I'm like, I don't understand how they are doing this, but everything is working to do like the absolute like up to 11 emotional response from me.
And of course, that actor also did the voice of Belial, right, Stevie?
Yeah.
Is that right? So he is technically sort of both of them, right?
Yeah.
Well,
And it's one of the most haunting sounds to this day that I've ever heard. It's pained and angry and confused, and it's got so much in just this.
Honestly, I mean, we talk now as adults about this film being quite sweet and endearing, but I can totally see, Stevie, how when you were 10, it would be absolutely terrifying, because you're right, the noises that it makes, like that mix of, like you say, sort of pain with anger and this kind of monstrousness, you know.
He's so furious, and when he unleashes the violence, so whether that is against one of the doctors, whether it's against
or out of jealousy.
Or out of jealousy, against the guy who comes in to like rob the room.
Yes.
This unleashing of just absolute fury is really, really scary. And again, the kind of horror effects, the blood and the gore, they evolve throughout the film. So at the beginning, because I'm pretty sure it was shot like chronologically, right? So at the beginning, all you kind of see is like shadows, and a hand will come up and like scratch down a face, and there'll be some sort of blood squirted against a wall from off camera.
But realism.
And then by the time he is attacking the like Irish guy in the hotel, actually the like makeup effects on his face are really good. Like, and you can basically see where Belial has like kind of torn his claws like down this guy's face.
Yeah, the blending's incredible.
Yeah.
It's really good, like genuinely brilliant. And then you know, right up to when he like smashes the doctor's face into the drawer of scalpels. And yeah, it is like it's you know, yeah, fine, it's cute, like I've got a thing for Belial, he's really adorable, I want one, but it is a genuinely like the horror and the gore and the violence are
Nasty.
really intense,
really nasty. Yeah.
And it's sat in realism, isn't it? Because we'll talk about it later, where, you know, Henenlotter can lean much more into the cartoonish, but there is something about that splatter. You know, when you get a splatter of blood up someone's chest, it's not a bucket thrown on them, as Henenlotter maybe later uses to make it more ridiculous. It is like a truly just this dark red sort of squirt of artery blood, and it's really quite horrible. But that symbiosis between the two, you know, you can also see it as a kind of a Jekyll and Hyde situation where, you know, that is his angst and his anger side of him, but they've been separated.
Yeah.
And it's there's really nice levels to that, and and also this mystery, because we never really know until later on why he's doing this, why he's hunting people down. We get flashbacks that he's technically a newborn at, but can remember every word and things like that. But this mystery that kind of sets it apart from regular sort of splatter films, that their MO of hunting down the people who have wronged them. And I just think that's a really nice addition that just keeps it going instead of just being set piece to set piece.
Yeah,
definitely.
How do you? I mean, I guess this is where the sort of mad science element comes into it, Becky. When we finally revealed the backstory, right? And there's that kind of quite significant chunk of the film where we go back and we reveal that obviously these were separated, conjoined twins, and all of that kind of thing. Like, how do you find that kind of the backstory, I suppose, that is revealed between these two brothers?
Yeah, it's funny because when you asked us to do the Henenlotter double bill that we're doing today, Frankenhooker is very obviously that, like the man-made monsters, and I was just delighted to be talking about Basket Case, so I didn't really care. I didn't really think about it. I was like, yeah, let's talk about Basket Case. Obviously, fucking finally, let's do it. But then, I started thinking about it a bit more, and I guess the way that Belial is a man-made monster is he wasn't a monster when he was just attached to his brother. Yeah. He was literally made a monster by his dad's reaction to him, and by
Dr. Cutter and Dr.
Needleman, who weren't even medical doctors; they were vets. So it's actually this completely perfect film for this season, because it is a monster who would not exist and be committing these brutal murders if humans, like other people, hadn't kind of taken this horrible action against it. It's deep and it's tragic and it's brutal. And so I think that kind of backstory and the flashback that we get is one of my favourite bits of the film. And often with flashbacks, or with kind of, let me tell you my origin story.
Yeah, the killer origin story.
Yeah, exactly. Can feel like it kind of weighs down or slows down the film, and you're kind of almost tapping your watch thinking like, right, can we get back to the action, please? I don't find that at all with this film. I really enjoy that section, and it goes on for quite a decent stretch of time. And one of the things that is most heartbreaking about it is not just the fact that their mother died in childbirth, not just the fact that their father then completely rejected them, not the fact that they were then torn apart just because like dad wanted Dwayne to be a normal boy, and literally cut off this appendage and throw it in the garbage.
He finds his brother in a trash
in a trash bag. Is the auntie who is like, I know you've been through some horrible stuff, but I'm here to look after you now, both of you. And then that fucking bit when they are by the fire and she's got little, and because they've got a different fucking
they've got a little one.
It's the baby one.
They've got a little baby one, and so they've got she's got baby Belial on her lap, and she's
on her lap by the fire.
She's reading him The Tempest.
I know. Tempest of all
amazing.
I know
Caliban,
lovely Caliban,
Caliban, because it's this deformed creature.
Oh God, it is. It's adorable. Let's talk about the look of Belial, Stevie, and how was it achieved? Right, there are multiple kind of techniques behind creating Belial, I believe. Right?
Yeah, it's mostly foam rubber, and there are several versions of him. There's the human life-size one that you could put your arms in and manipulate his hands. Then you've got the baby one, then you've got a miniature one. But it was trial and error, and to make the shapes, they would literally just fill fill a sort of garbage can with foam rubber and punch the shit out of it and hollow it out. They even used to get like his spine at the back so you can see all these sinews and bits poking out. They used a Coke bottle and just like pushed it through until it formed around it, so you get this really uncanny knobbly, and you can see all the seams and you can see bubbles in the rubber, which completely adds to it. But it was complete. There was no design for it. That's what I love about it. You know, Henenlotter just had this idea of a blob, basically, this blob with eyes, and because of those stories where, you know, someone might get a growth cut open on their back and there's teeth and a bit of spine and some hair, and he wanted it to be like that, like this growth, and it's just so perfect. And the thing is, there's no way it can be replicated because it was just trial and error and bashed a piece of material around until it resembled something that they could stick eyes on. And, you know, now it would be so over-designed and meticulously drawn out, and it's so of its time, and also adds to the absolute terror, because you've never seen anything like it.
That reveal when it first like bursts out of the basket screaming.
Oh my gosh.
It's horrible.
And it's got these wonky teeth. And also, I think the fact that you can see it's almost different every few scenes. It's like a different one. It just adds to it because you never feel safe. You just have like, what the fuck is it?
Yeah.
And I just, I love him so much. I've got my pin that I have on my favourite jacket of Belial, and it's a prized possession.
Becky, you are a fan of the design of Belial, right? I mean, it's supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be this quite grotesque thing, but I get the feeling you absolutely just love him, right?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's an issue I've got, is that anyone who knows me knows that I feel every emotion about level 12, right? I'm this hyper emote person. It's exhausting.
She loves misunderstood monsters.
I think probably because I am one. No, but I just have this thing about like inanimate objects as well. Like I will project personalities onto inanimate objects. They've all got a gender to me.
You pointed something out to me once, like a door handle or something, and you were like, look at his little face. And I was like, what? And it took me a minute to realise what you were talking about, and then finally I could see that this door handle looked a bit like a little smiley face.
Yeah. And I also sent you a photo. Do you remember when I was in Crete over the summer and I sent you a photo of the holiday umbrella with the two flip-flops on top of it, and I was like, look, he's at the beach, and you were like,
I love it.
I don't know what you're showing me. Yeah.
And to me, I can't look at stuff and like not see their faces.
Right.
Like everything has a little personality. And so when you get a disgusting little monster,
what did you call it? A chicken nugget meets a testicle or something
like that.
Yeah.
You know, whether it is this little guy, whether it's Belial, or whether it is like Aylmer from Brain Damage, who is basically like a brain worm. Like I can't not, and it to the point that, Stevie, it's good that you're here to go, no, it's a horror film, because I'm watching it like a fucking Disney movie. I'm like, this poor little fucker.
Yeah, it is. But again, I think that is the magic of it, isn't it? Is that there is a weird balance of like absolutely horrific and really cute and endearing.
But he is obviously. It's such a good point, Stevie, that you make about this, I guess, kind of happy accident of him looking different every few scenes. So it's you know, as you said, like when you first see him, he's kind of just like on the side of the wall, which is really weird and creepy and uncanny in itself, because like, how can he stick to the wall? That's weird. And as you say, like he's got like these completely empty eyes.
And he's got a human face on that first one, and it's actually Kevin Van Thingy. That's a mould of his face that they did. With the hollowed eyes. Yeah, exactly. But then it progresses and he loses the human face features and becomes more of a blob.
Yeah. And at first, like, he's just got like this little sort of straight across mouth, and then obviously later he's got it sort of like, it screams open, as you say. He's got all these sort of wonky, jagged teeth. Then you see him when he's like down on the floor and like wrecking the room, and he's like stop motion.
That's my favourite bit.
When he gets out of the basket, he's my teenage Belial is my favourite one. And
I love it when you see puppets in their full form in a wide shot. So like those occasional moments when you get Kermit the Frog and you actually see him like with his legs, like 'cause it's a wide shot or something. Yeah, like I love it when you see Belial out of the basket, stop motion moving about.
I love that stop motion, and it's so jonky because Henenlotter, he of course he's never studied stop motion. He just knows you press record, move it a bit, press record, move it a bit, and so he did that all himself. And he said that it was so painstaking of how little he had to move it to get this flowing footage when he played it back, that he started to get really fucking tired of it, and so he'd just go up and kick it and to move it along a bit, press record and kick it a bit further. Like he couldn't be asked bending down and nudging it any longer. And so you see these moments where it's like it's really disjointed and he sort of jugs along quite quickly.
Yeah, he sort of jumps occasionally.
Yeah, and that's where he's just going, oh, fuck's sake, and kicked it.
That would 100% be me if I ever tried to do stop motion.
Yeah.
Just three positions across the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's no Nick Park. He's not got the patience for that. I love it. But then there is also this kind of like sort of love story element too, right? It's a woman that comes between these two brothers, essentially, right? How do you find the kind of the romance, I suppose, Stevie, between Dwayne and Sharon in this movie?
She's so good. She's good
amazing
in this movie. As soon as in her $2 wig, like you just
oh my god,
the wig is so good.
The shake and go wig. No, but apparently she was bald at this point. I don't know if it was for a job or something, but she had a shaved head, so they got her that $2 wig. But I think that adds to it and adds to the character and the oddness of all of these supporting characters. But she just bursts life into it because you've got someone who's so introverted that we've been following with this crazy little monster, and then she has this outward personality that really is just so needed at that point. And you immediately warm to her, and she's pursuing him. This, like, you're really like, oh, I love this woman. She's headstrong and she's funny, she's sarcastic, and she's the most sort of real person that we have in this. And so you really root for them, but also you're so torn because you don't want Belial, even though he's a murderous little lump, you don't want anything to come between them because you feel for them and what they've already been through, and so you're rooting for them to find a harmonious way that all three of them can be happy. But of course it doesn't happen. But I think she is fantastic in this movie, and her delivery is spot on, and she pitches it just right.
Well, also, Becky, we love him, but Belial does get a bit naughty and a bit sleazy, doesn't he?
He's
awful.
An absolute pervert. I'm not excusing it,
no,
right? Like it's horrendous.
Yeah, he does a bit of groping.
I don't like it when he kills Sharon.
It's the worst. And I think
it's definitely the worst bit. It's horrible.
It takes a turn at that point. I think if you take that out, it's one type of movie. But that one scene, you just go, what is happening when she's her groin is covered in blood and he's sort of gyrating on her. And apparently that is the point when they were filming that loads of crew members just said, I'm not doing this anymore, and they said it was too far and they all walked off set apparently, and so they were just left with the skeleton crew.
That bad. I mean, fucking hell. But I mean, he is basically like sat on top of her, humping her.
Her dead body.
There's a bit of a weird bit. Maybe what? Well, yeah. It's not that. There's an amazing bit. It's not that bad. He's just humping her dead body. Get over it. Fucking snowflakes.
He just wants to.
There's that amazing bit where his hand comes on the screen. He just like boops her boob, which I remember.
I love his little hands.
Absolutely.
I do love his little hands.
But yeah, I mean, He's a sex pest,
Definitely.
and worse. A sex pest and worse.
I mean, I absolutely love, though, Stevie, that whether intentional or not, there are readings into this movie too, right? Like, critics have written about this movie. They've talked about how, this is, like you said, sort of the two sides of Dwayne's, personality, the kind of sexual repression, maybe, that he's the kind of id. People have talked about this movie as a kind of allegory for abortion and stuff as well.
Love that. I love
amazing,
retrospective
right?
sort of views on films like this, especially when someone like Henenlotter, who isn't the type to go, oh yes, that's what I meant all along. He's the type to go, he just got ripped off and wants to kill the doctors, And I love that, and I love that movie, that this movie is open to those interpretations that we have now, and you can watch it with that lens. And I just think it's just such a brilliant film. I really, really adore it.
I was writing something for my Patreon a little while ago about Basket Case, and so I thought, I'll do a bit of actual reading, and it is amazing to see some of the kind of much more academic approaches to it, rather than just going, I like him, he's a little spud who like boots people's nipples, which is where I'm pitching my analysis. But I read this incredible quote that likened Basket Case to Todd Browning's Freaks. And it's talking about the kind of the exploitative nature of using, and as you were saying earlier, Mike, this idea of kind of the outsider and the other, right? So it says, and I haven't got an actual author for it, but it's from the Taschen book Horror Cinema, but I don't know who it's written by, because it's just like one of those amalgams. It says, there is something inherently exploitative about these movies because they inevitably centre on folks who are classically considered less than us or beneath us. We're invited in to witness the tragic and traumatic, and to enjoy something we all secretly crave, the guilty pleasures of superiority and pity.
Wow. Wow.
So you sort of get this feeling of being like, I'm not a weird little spud, and I kind of pity it, but at the same time you get this kind of this sort of thrill of the exploitative nature of it as well, I suppose.
Absolutely. It does work on all those levels, I think. And then, of course, we have the tragic ending, Stevie, as well. And again, it's quite a downer ending, isn't it? Really?
It's devastating, because you're just getting over the shock of the Sharon and Belial, and you're kind of going, no, don't tarnish what I thought of you. And then this, because the symbiosis and the brother, it's the brotherly love, but also the rivalry that's there from benign. Well, he wasn't benign. Belial's side is so apparent, and it's a true Romeo and Juliet sort of ending, isn't it? And it leaves you empty. It really, really does. It's seeing the blood trickling from both of them after they've just fallen to their death. It's devastating.
It is,
because you
and
give a
again,
shit.
Becky, I don't know whether I've just watched too much Frankenstein and read too much Frankenstein this year, but again, there's something Frankenstein-esque about this whole thing, right? This man and this monster. The killing of Elizabeth in the wedding bed at the end, followed by these two dying together at the end. Again, there is something kind of tragic and gothic and classic almost about this story's ending, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. And even the fact that to the kind of absolute end of the film, there is this push-pull between these two brothers about undying loyalty, but also the need to kind of be free from each other, or certainly Dwayne sort of feels like, he sort of needs to have his independence from looking after his little brother. And he says something really tragic. He says, the first girl I ever kissed and you've destroyed it, it's so sad. And you sort of get this horrible feeling that Belial will never let Dwayne kind of be happy with somebody else, and he's always going to sort of, and because he's got this kind of they've got this telepathy, right? So Belial can talk to Dwayne telepathically, but can't do it vice versa. Dwayne used to be able to do it, but since the operation, he now can't do it any longer. And so you feel like, even because you see it, even when Dwayne is able to kind of escape for a couple of hours and go and live his own life and try and get some joy out of life. Belial's like in his head, you know, he can feel Dwayne's like joy and passion when he's kissing Sharon, and it makes him furious. And then he like, you know, kills somebody, and then Dwayne can feel that. And so you just feel like he's never, ever going to escape. But then, obviously, after this sort of huge violent confrontation between them and they fall out of the window, it then comes to like the ultimate sort of clash of like brotherly love and hate, because Belial's got Dwayne by the throat trying to stop him from falling and save his life, and then obviously chokes the life out of him. Like,
yeah,
nobody could tell me this isn't a masterpiece.
Absolutely. Like you guys said, no notes. It's beautiful. I love it.
And I'm glad it got that traction that it has.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Stevie. What was the reaction to it sort of played in sort of midnight movie screenings and that kind of thing, didn't it, for a long time?
Well, of course, he made it for those cinemas, those 42nd Street cinemas. Yeah. That's what he wanted. And, you know, they tried, and most companies just turned it down for being too strange, too gory, too cheap, the usual, the good stuff. And then it was the Rex Cinema on 42nd Street, who liked to take risks, decided to just give it a chance, and they really didn't care about prestige or sort of reputation. And on the first showing, you know, people were laughing and cheering and screaming, and ultimately just fascinated by it, like they'd never seen anything like it. And the word spread really quickly. And so then another 4 cinemas picked it up on 42nd Street, on the Strip, and it became this huge pull for the midnight crowd. Yeah. And the midnight showings, and it was the hit of the season. And then it was a really slow build, you know, as it gradually made its way to other states. It wasn't like it was on for a specific release. Like, it would be in California in July, and then in September, October, it made its way to Texas, and almost like it did a circuit. And then it just grew. And then obviously the VHS boom just solidified it as a cult classic, and it was never on the shelf.
It also feels like it thrives on VHS, right? It's one of those things. It wasn't, and it was heavily cut here in the UK. It wasn't on the official Video Nasties list, but at that time it was seized, and also it was heavily cut. I don't think it was passed completely uncut in the UK until 1999, when so many films were, right?
Yeah.
But it absolutely, it feels, doesn't it, Becky, like of that kind of Video Nasties vibe, I suppose. You could absolutely believe it was lumped in with those other movies.
You could absolutely believe it. And as always with the Video Nasties list, I could kind of see why Basket Case would have been included on it, way above some of the stuff that was actually included on it, that was included just because of a title or a poster or a video cover or whatever. I mean, it's got all the hallmarks.
It leads us on to our next film.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice segue.
Exactly. It's got the sleaze, it's got sexual violence, it's got real gnarly blood and gore, it's got that weirdness, that exploitation. So it definitely feels, even if it was never actually given the label, that it's kind of a piece with those films, a lot of which, of course, have come on to be also regarded as stone cold masterpieces.
Yeah, exactly. It's that classic thing, isn't it, of like by banning it or seizing it, you've made it more infamous and more desirable to a lot of audiences, I think, you know?
Yeah, but isn't it nice when you then seek it out and it's as good as this is?
Oh, God. Unbelievable.
Even though it's, you know, it's not, but it is. Yeah. Because none of the performances, except maybe Sharon, are... You don't watch it going, wow, I'm watching an actor.
Right,
But you buy into it so much. Like, Dr. Cutter is my favourite. It's like Sigourney Weaver on Valium. She never blinks.
Yeah, she's very Sigourney Weaver, isn't she?
Yeah, but it is it just pulls you in because it's so odd and uncanny the way people speak and interact in it. It's just one of a kind.
But this is why Henenlotter is such a genius, because whether he meant to or not, he has created something that is so much more than the sum of its parts.
Completely.
You know, nobody looks at it and says that it's the best acting ever or the best screenplay ever or the best special effects or anything like that. Cinematography, you know, score. It's like, fine, they're all pretty ropey, but you put them all together with him at the helm and it creates magic.
I think John Waters is the perfect comparison, because it's like the early John Waters. It's scrappy, and you couldn't say it was actually like well made in a lot of ways, but there is still so much to enjoy, right? It's so much charm, there's so much love there, you know? It's so good.
100%.
And of course, Stevie, this did get, and just briefly, it got a couple of sequels, right? Basket Case 2 in 1990, Basket Case 3, The Progeny, in 1991. I've never seen the sequels. What are they like?
Oh, have you not?
No.
Don't go in expecting anything similar to Basket Case. They are. I think the Glickenhaus, I think, who was the producer, was like, we want a sequel, if I remember correctly, to Basket Case. And he was like, you can't. They're dead. That's the end of the story. That's how it's a tragedy, and it just ends. And so I think he struck up a deal. He was like, well, I have this other idea for a film, which became Frankenhooker. So if you produce both, I will make you the sequel to Basket Case. And Basket Case is 2 and 3 are much more spoofy. I mean, there are musical numbers. It's a house of quote unquote freaks. So there's 40 different sort of deformed creatures, and they're all these massive, ridiculous rubber monsters. But it's very spoofy. Like at one point, you get Belial wearing the Sigourney Weaver big metal robot thing from Aliens, you know, that she fights the Queen with, and he comes out in that, and he's wearing it, like grabbing by the throat and things like that.
God.
So it's much more cartoonish and much more John Waters, but it's also very glossy. So it doesn't have.
Well, these were early 90s too, right?
Yeah.
Compared to early 80s, so I imagine it has more of that look.
A good budget, but they are ridiculous fun. Just very far removed.
Have you seen them, Becky, the 2 sequels?
No, which is ridiculous, because it's another example of ones that I own and just have never gotten around to actually watching them.
Right, well, we should watch them one day. We should watch them.
Yes, please.
You should. It's ridiculous.
Yes,
it's
let's do that. Let's double bill them over Christmas. We can have some leftover sausage rolls and some.
That's a really good idea.
Some week old mulled wine, and we'll watch.
Well, we should get some misshapen chicken nuggets. That's what we should be eating.
Yes, you should.
Some questionable chicken nuggets. Amazing. Well, there you go. Well, we should move on, but Basket Case, absolute masterpiece. Let's jump forward to 1990's Frankenhooker by Frank Henenlotter. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to discuss this, because also Becky just watched this for the first time, so I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Stevie, first of all, set the scene for us. Give us a little plot synopsis for Frankenhooker.
Sure. So, when Jeffrey Franken, inventor extraordinaire, creates a remote-controlled lawnmower that accidentally dismembers his grotesquely overweight size 6 fiancée... His ultimate invention is born in his mind. He gathers her severed body parts and hides them somewhere the police will never find them, in a chest freezer in his unlicensed laboratory. But to bring her back as the ultimate super babe, he's going to need some fresh, sexy lady limbs. He embarks on a quest in the red light district where he meets a throng, or should that be thong, of sex workers. But it's 1990, so we will call them nasty little hookers. Whilst appearing incredibly well-kempt with supermodel tier appearances, they also have an insatiable appetite for crack. When Jeffrey hatches a plan to blow up the perfect hooker with his explosive altered crack, recently acquired from stud muffin and pimp extraordinaire Zorro, it all goes horribly wrong when the lady's otherwise undetectable addiction ignites at the sight of crack. Relatable. Their cattle-branded bodies combust, leaving Jeffrey with an endless array of lady bits for his reanimation. When he assembles his new version of Elizabeth, she arrives with some glitches. Her brain is a mix of memories from our departed vixens and electrocutes every chap who gets too close. We know this because we can see the electricity. Hijinks ensue until Jeffrey manages to get Elizabeth back to the lab, only to lose his head and gain some tits, in a finale that will make you question whether you yourself have inadvertently consumed crack.
So good. Do you know what? Well, just speaking of, you mentioned Freaks earlier. There is something of Freaks about the ending to this movie. Like, it sort of reminds me of the moment when she becomes the chicken at the end of Freaks.
Oh, in
like,
Freaks, in the actual film. Yes.
Know, it's so good. So, Stevie, let me come to you first. What do you think of this movie? How does it compare to Basket Case?
I love it. I really separate it. It's so funny. When I think of Henenlotter, the first thing I think of is multicoloured liquid, purple liquid, bright lights, purple and red lights and shiny, and actually that is Frankenhooker and that is Brain Damage.
Yeah.
And those have kind of tainted my view, not tainted, but coloured my view of Henenlotter, when actually, Basket Case is very dull and it's just browns and creams and fleshy tones. And so this really is his the other side to him, I think, with a little bit more money behind him, maybe what he wanted to do. But, it's still got the sleaze and the satire, and he wanted to make something lighter after Brain Damage and more comedic. And so you see a much lighter tone, and it feels more mainstream for that reason, I think. It's much more cartoonish. And I think out of the holy trinity of Henenlotter, which is Frankenhooker, Basket Case, and Brain Damage, I think this is my third favourite. But that doesn't mean I don't like it at all. I really, really do. Especially, obviously, the final act, which is when you see the Henenlotter that you love and know, and you get the freak show, and you get all the absolute ridiculousness. I mean, we'll come on to it. But for the first section of it, it's a very different tone, and it's one that I think he's become more synonymous with, even though Basket Case is his opus. Yeah. It's really weird. I think of these bright colours and psychedelic nonsense when kind
of pink neon and the bursts of pink electricity and all of that kind of thing. Yeah. So much more of its time too, right? Like, obviously Basket Case feels so early 80s in that gritty, scuzzy, almost like you said, Stevie, snuff kind of look. And then this is so early 90s, isn't it?
Yes,
these kind of like campy bright colours popping off the screen and that kind of lighter tone and atmosphere. Yeah. So Becky, this was the first time watching it. You watched it, I believe, this morning before we recorded, right? What did you think of Frankenhooker?
Incredible. Absolutely loved it. Had a whale of a time at 8 a.m. Monday morning watching Frank Henenlotter's Frankenhooker.
What a way to start the week.
What a way to start the week. It's all downhill from here. I thought it was, just absolutely phenomenal. I had this on my list for such a long time. I borrowed a friend's Arrow Blu-ray of this approximately 6 years ago and have never watched it or returned it. And even today, when I watched it, didn't watch it on the Blu-ray, I watched it on Arrow Player on my laptop.
Of course.
It's easier, isn't it?
Oh, honestly.
It was 8 a.m, I was in bed. Come on.
If you could just watch something with the push of a button, it's so much easier than putting
Honestly,
in a Blu-ray.
It's horrendous. But I will now, Steve, if you're listening, I will return your Arrow Blu-ray. Thank you so much for your patience. It has that, you're absolutely right, it has that kind of Henenlotter fingerprint all over it, but you can feel the kind of 8 years that have passed between Basket Case and Frankenhooker. I thought that the look of Elizabeth, or whatever we want to actually call the Frankenhooker herself, I thought the look of it is incredible, and obviously, like, she's such a iconic character now, and so I've seen her in pictures, and Brad's lovely girlfriend Lily dressed up as Frankenhooker last Halloween, and incredible stuff. Like, she's a very recognisable character, but I don't think that I had ever really kind of, I don't know, seen her, head to toe. And actually, like, the makeup is amazing. That kind of patchwork effect that they've got on her looks so good. The way that she moves. It's like she's struggling, but she's doing it. And if anybody is going to go out there and find a John and make some money, it's her. And I love that she's just got this like singular mission as soon as she wakes up, because as Stevie was, sort of intimating in his synopsis, the sex workers in this are enthusiastic to a fault. And there's some stuff going on with sex work and kind of drugs and stuff like that. But again, with Henenlotter, I feel like he is trying to send a message with his very schlocky, silly 1990 exploitation film.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it sort of feels like its heart is in the right place, this movie.
He supports subculture.
Yeah.
Completely. You know,
exactly.
there's that news report where they have a little moment where it's talking about we should legalise sex work because then it's safer and then drugs aren't such an issue and all that. You know, it's in there.
I said to Becky earlier, we talked about John Waters a lot. There's something of this movie that reminds me a bit of Sean Baker's work. Like, I feel like he could walk so Sean Baker could run with movies like Tangerine and Honora and that kind of portrayal of sex work, you know?
Before we move on from the news report, I would just like to draw attention to the fact that their acronym for the name of the campaign is Hooker, which stands for Hold On To Our Knowledge of Equal Rights.
Oh my God, amazing. I didn't notice that. That's brilliant.
So good.
So good. I love this movie too. I came to this way later. I think I only saw it in the last sort of 10 years or so for the first time. Loved watching it again. Like, again, it's just so entertaining, isn't it? Not a minute of it feels like filler or wasted in any way. I think there's always something going on. There are always details that you can smile at or laugh about. The performances, again, are weird in this movie, but kind of fascinatingly weird, where you can't quite work out if these are bad actors or amazing actors or what, or even actors some of the time, right? And I love that about it. And absolutely agree with you. I think, like, the design of Elizabeth Frankenhooker herself, and also that performance too. Patty Mullen is great,
crushes
it.
Gosh.
And Stevie, she was really just like a model, right? Like, rather than an actress at this point
she was
in
a
time.
Penthouse pet.
You
know, because obviously they knew they wanted her to expose her breasts at some point. And so that's the route you got to go. But yeah, she's a former Penthouse pet, but she is this movie. When Henenlotter saw her for the role, he literally could not believe it, because her comedic timing, her physical comedy, and her ability to play both sweet and tragic is honestly astonishing. And I think it is one of the best comedic performances of that of the 90s, let's say. You know, the walk, the way she has her arms behind her like they're on backwards, the lip,
the mouth,
the register, the lip. It's honestly the work of genius.
Becky, I don't know about you, I was guffawing, like, when she first is let loose in New York and like approaches men and then sort of does this kind of juddery and face movement and lip thing. It's just incredible, right? Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Want a date? Going out? Looking for some action? Need some company? Got any money? It's like this, because what I really love about it is she's only able to kind of parrot lines that are spoken earlier in the movie, so they're recognisable to us from the sex workers, hookers that she has been made up of, right? But what is so clever about it is the lines that she parrots actually kind of work in the conversations that she's having with other characters. So there's this great bit in the bar, and there's that kind of like sleazy kind of wise guy who ends up going down on her after the table and then exploding. And when she's talking to him, all she's doing is repeating these lines that have been said by the other women earlier, but they all kind of work. So he feels like he's having an actual conversation with her. It's
It's like a Two
brilliant.
Ronnies sketch. It's really
Yes,
well
yes.
planned out.
It's brilliant. I know. I absolutely love it. Is this, Stevie, is this a Troma film? This has like the Troma logo at the beginning.
They distributed it,
Right.
but only that. They had no financial input or producing association. It was made under Rugged Films, which is Henenlotter's production company, and then because Troma was such a big distribution company.
Right. So I was going to say, I couldn't actually see, it wasn't like Lloyd Kaufman kind of produced it or anything.
No, because Troma, they started just distributing other people's films. People would make them on the cheap, and then they would say, right, we'll distribute it and take loads of the fucking money. And so that was a really good way to get on the shelves. And so that was their only involvement, really. But I think they got a lot of financial gain from it, because, again, the VHS marketing was just genius, because the VHS cover had a button on it that you could press, and it would go, "Want a date?" And it was one of those, bubbled, raised covers. I think the Never Ending Story was like that as well. But it was like a bubbled, tangible cover, and it had all the main copies had this button that you could press.
So cool. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine it kind of flew off the shelves for certain audiences. Even the title, Frankenhooker, is a really fun title.
This was a behemoth
but
of VHS.
It's provocative, though, right?
Yeah.
It's like...
completely.
It kind of... It's a genius title because it does everything that it needs to do. It's comedic. It tells you immediately what this story is.
Yeah, completely.
Immediately. But at the same time, it's provocative alongside, the cover art and everything like that.
Yeah.
So it is a perfect title.
It is. What do we think of Jeffrey Franken and this lead performance by James Lawrence as well? There is a manic energy to this guy, Stevie. What do you think of?
Yeah, again, he's cast as leading man perfectly. And he does exactly what is asked of him, but once again, that's what we want. We don't want anyone who's too distracting or engaging. Like, they play within their little bubble of their main one emotion that we're meant to be sort of seeing from them, and then it's the outside character that we really fall for. I suppose the only thing about this, on rewatch, you're yearning for the monster, and it's only the last 30 minutes. And so I found this time on rewatch, I was kind of like, oh, come on, mate, Maker, come on. Go and blow up the ladies. And so I found myself in, but I think he does the job perfectly. And there's not too much to him, but yeah, again, this sort of sleep-deprived manic male.
Yeah, and he's quite hard to almost pin an age on, because he resembles a teenage boy, but then his voice is like that of an old New Jersey bloke. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's amazing.
He has got the best New Jersey accent I have heard since Bruce Springsteen, basically.
Hey, excuse me. Please, you gotta help me out here. I'm looking for my girlfriend. She's very sick. I gotta get her medicine. She's tall. She's purple. She's got some scars on her. A purple outfit. Have you seen her around here?
Oh yeah, 4 of them. But I've had 2 for myself.
What are you talking about? What are you, some kind of a Swede? You're talking to me in Swedish in Times Square. Elizabeth!
Jeffrey is like Herbert West with ADHD.
Right.
He just never stops talking. And, we were discussing Dwayne in Basket Case and how he had to how the actor had to perform up against a puppet or just a basket, or sometimes to nothing if he was kind of doing the sort of telepathy performance, with Belial inside his head. But Jeffrey's not doing something that dissimilar, because
he's just talking non-stop.
He's just talking constantly. It doesn't matter if he is putting plans together. It doesn't matter if he is drilling holes into his own head. It doesn't matter if he is having a delicious Italian sit-down meal with his decapitated fiancé. It is just constant, like this kind of just constant splurge of words. And he delivers it so well. It's amazing. And he really kind of, I guess with a lot of mad scientists, he kind of deteriorates as the film goes on, right? So it just gets more and more kind of unhinged as it goes on.
So good. Stevie, I feel like poor Elizabeth probably could have dodged that lawnmower before it runs her over, right? It's a bit Austin Powers, like the scream as it comes at her. Like, yeah.
Well, it's the opening section before the credits is so odd. Because this is much more akin to John Waters, I think, this vibe, where you're just in this other world where people don't react to things the way normal people would. Like, no one's going, oh my God, is that a fucking brain with an eye? They're kind of going, oh, what are you doing today? What's this guy, you know?
It's just Jeffrey with his hobbies.
Yeah. He's being weird again, you know, and, you know, calling her fat and telling her to keep off the pretzels. So you're in this other space where you're like, I don't recognize this world as the one that I'm in. And I think it just sets it up perfectly. And so that moment where she absolutely could have dodged it, it just sets it in, it heightens it and puts it in a much more surrealist world that we haven't seen from Henenlotter yet.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, John Waters, again, is the perfect comparison because it's got that kind of serial mum vibe to it.
Very serial mum. Yeah.
That kind of almost... ding, ding, ding. That almost like Lynchian kind of suburbia. Yeah. It's really like bright,
Stepford wife.
Brightly lit, brightly coloured Stepford wives. The mum has got, you know, these sort of very bright florals on. They're all sort of outside drinking lemonade and having a barbecue, and it's Dad's birthday. And sure, there's something fucking weird going on behind closed doors, but like we won't worry about that. And for me, like especially coming out of Basket Case and going straight into Frankenhooker, that it was like whiplash, like suddenly finding myself in like kind of American, very sort of shiny suburbia. So I was
sort
almost
of white picket fence world. All
exactly.
Sudden,
I was almost relieved when he goes back into, because obviously they're in New Jersey. So I was very relieved when he went over to Manhattan to pick up some hooks.
Back to sleazy Manhattan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. And by the way, shout out to Louise Lasser, who plays Mrs. Franken. Our fave, who you know a film is going to be a bit odd and off-kilter when she pops up, right? Blood Rage alum. Operator.
You just know that the operator. I need help. It's a real emergency.
So good. So good. She was also in Happiness, Becky, which we discussed recently as well.
Oh my God, of course she was. She's the mum. When she goes into the fucking estate agent and just cries.
Yeah.
Classic.
Unreal.
You just know that it's going to be an odd film when she pops up in it. I love it.
She's always so good.
How do you find the, I guess, like, drama of what happens, particularly in the first half, Becky? Because I suppose so much of it is... after Elizabeth dies, that's it. You've got to you're sat with Jeffrey for a long time while he is just like grieving and losing his mind, and like you say, whining and dining with the severed head and all of that kind of stuff.
I love it. Yeah, I was again. You're right. Like I was craving, because again, Frankenhooker Elizabeth is she's the image that springs to mind when you think about this film, even for people who haven't seen it, or maybe especially for people who haven't seen it. And so there was a bit of me thinking, like, when's she turning up? But because it is essentially following, you know, the Frankenstein narrative, you know that he has to... put her together and you have to go through the reanimation sequence with the lightning and all of that kind of stuff. So I was quite happy, and you get so much action when he actually goes into Manhattan and starts liaising with the pimp and the sex workers and all of this kind of thing. And Zorro. Unreal, this guy.
There's a really weird, I mean, it gets so weird, doesn't it, when he goes to the sleazy kind of Manhattan underbelly. There's a really weird moment when he goes into that little room, Stevie, and there's like a toilet cubicle that keeps opening and shutting, and there's like a threesome in there.
Yeah, this is one of my favourite bits, because there's something about these, you only really get them in films, I don't even know if they exist, but these sleazy dive bars that... are actually on the outside look like this small little bar, but they're this labyrinth of corridors and back passages and front, depending whatever floats your boat. And there's always hundreds of people jammed in the hallways. It's like it's the hottest spot in town. You always see them depicted in these backdoor places, and it's always so fascinating. It kind of reminds me of Christina Aguilera's Dirty video, where there's all these crazy little rooms and all sorts of crazy stuff going on. And I love it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it is that underbelly dive bar aesthetic that I just think is wonderful, because there's always something to look at, whether it's someone having a threesome or someone shooting up, or maybe there's someone dressed as a furry. You know, it's a feast, and I just find it really enticing, and I love things like this. It's kind of like when we talked about Driller Killer, when they do go to that party, you know, and it's just full of crazy shit going on, and each room is different down these little corridors, and it has
that's literally the film that sprung to mind for me as well, because they go to the kind of like CBGB's kind of alternative, right? And they do at one point all pack into one of the like toilets. And it's the cacophony is the right word. It's just all this overlapping dialogue, and you can't look at one thing for too long because you feel like you're missing something on the other side of the screen, and all of that. Absolute feast. And it's another it's like with the hotel in Basket Case, this is where you get that kind of glimpse of all of these characters and that like that life that they are trying to portray that is being lived in New York.
And that idea that even though they're really at times cartoonish characters, you also feel like these don't even look like actors. Some of them look like the sort of people you would just find in these. Yeah, exactly.
Completely.
It's incredible.
There's that weird guy who seems to be like maybe like a preacher or something, who's just stood over Zorro's shoulder, just chattering into his ear. And it sounds like, I couldn't quite make it out, but it almost sounds like he's like preaching kind of like scripture or something. And then the sort of the head hooker, I can't remember her name, Crystal, I want to say Crystal, comes in and
who walks in slow motion, which I love, and no one else everything else is normal speed, and she walks in slow motion when she's like, when he first goes, hey Crystal, come over here, and she like slowly but everything else is like normal time. I love it.
Oh my god,
they're so good.
How do you find the group of sex workers, Becky, that we're introduced to, and their strange excitement and obsession with crack as well?
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to put it out there now, and I know that this might be controversial, but I've never done crack. And I don't know.
What a snowflake. Sorry, carry on, Becky.
I know.
Very Moorish, apparently.
That's what I've heard. I assume that its effects are quite addictive, is what I understand about it. And there is this plot point about this film, which is about the fact that they are being kept by Zorro because he's got the supply of drugs. And this is commenting on something that happens in the real world, where women, or not always women, sex workers of all genders will be basically kind of enslaved to their
it's horrible.
pimps.
They're even branded in this, aren't they?
They are literally branded. He calls it a tattoo at one point, and it isn't a tattoo, it's a brand. Keith Raniere nut. And it's doing this comment on the fact that the pimps are flooding them with drugs so that they keep coming back, right? And so obviously, because it's Frankenhooker and it's a Henenlotter movie, it's played for laughs, and it is completely over the top, and even to the point that Jeffrey creates super crack, which is like, he's got it in the biggest baggie that I have ever seen in my entire life, with the biggest fucking rocks of this stuff. There's this incredible bit later when they're all partying in the hotel room, smoking the crack that they've just found in his bag, and they are trying to put one of the biggest rocks of drugs you've ever seen in like the tiniest pipe hole. It's like the most ridiculous square peg round hole whole thing that you'll ever witness. So obviously it's ridiculously heightened and it's played for laughs and it's a silly exploitative horror film. But there's something at the centre of this, including, or sort of rather along with the sort of news broadcast interview that we see earlier on, that they are like, this is bad, guys. Like, they shouldn't. And look what it does. It literally kills them because they explode.
And I think that's right. And like Stevie, like you said, whether that is actually conscious on Henenlotter's part or not, clearly that is just a bit of him that goes into these movies.
I think this one was. I think he had strong feelings about sex work and the legalization of it. But then you see that, and then you also see that moment where Jeffrey is very vocal about two women kissing and saying how it's unnatural and stuff, and you go, is that also Henenlotter? You're not sure, is it just the character he's created and whether you can separate the two? But and
that kind of surprises me, because I think that also Henenlotter has a slight queer vibe to his movies.
Yeah, in that John Waters way, it's got that everything feels free and loose and there's no judgment here. So I think it's a deliberate decision to make the character that way, but I don't know quite the reason at that moment for that little introduction of Jeffrey's views. I find that bit a little bit odd. I suppose it's for comic effect.
I suppose it's just said. It's funny, I didn't really notice it at the time because it's just said again with this just spewing of words that just comes out of Jeffrey the whole time.
Yeah.
And at that moment,
it's just this, like you said, cacophony, isn't it? The whole time.
At that moment, he's just kind of saying things like, no, girls, don't do it. It's going to kill you. Don't smoke that. Put it down. Oh, God, no. What are you doing? Girls. Oh, no, don't do that. It's unnatural, blah, 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 blah. And so I almost didn't pick up on it, but it's good that you've pointed it out, because
I think he says,
it is a
your
weird
bodies aren't
thing
designed to do
find in a Henenlotter film.
When two women are kissing. It's just a really weird moment that always jumps out to me.
There's so much here, as well as the kind of messaging, I guess, around kind of sex work and exploitation of women and legalization and drugs and all of that kind of stuff. There's also like a kind of commentary on ownership over women, because you get all of this really cool stuff later on where the power transfers back to Elizabeth. Jeffrey thinks that he's doing this the whole time for her. No, he's not. He's doing it for him. And when she finally sort of brings him back to life, because he's, what does she say? Something like, you kept very good notes. And she literally like mimics back to him all of this stuff that he was saying to her earlier, where she's like, oh, maybe some of the things I did were quite unorthodox, but you look great and you're alive and I love you and we're together again. And she's saying it with this like acerbic tone to her voice, where she's like, yeah, like, see how you fucking like it,
Yeah. No, I think that moment is basically just the character he's creating, because that's the joke, isn't it? The juxtaposition that he has these morality views of morality, but he's also going to blow up women and stitch them together and create a monster. Because even when they start playing music, he goes, no, not the devil's music.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if you listen, some of the lyrics of that song are safe sex is for wimps and anyone can drive sober. They're like the lyrics on the song. It's really funny.
Incredible.
So I do think that is just showing that this character has a holier-than-thou perspective on things, and yet is able to do the most monstrous things in the name of love.
I love it. And then, of course, he blows up all of these sex workers.
That set piece,
that scene,
is legendary. It's so meticulous, the way they get into position. You can see they slightly slow down their pose, and then they've obviously put the mannequins in exactly the right place. Honestly. And they've overlaid it and made sure they stood. It is seamless for something that is analog. It is absolutely seamless and incredible.
And they have the way that they match the mannequins to the women that they are modelling. It is unreal.
It's so amazing. And you get the POV of the leg flying like that
Oh my
Dead
God.
moment. It's so good. And the head spinning in the air.
Yeah.
And they just, they had these mannequins that I think they actually filled a lot of them with actual like pig guts and stuff, so that when they blew them, you got all the innards coming out.
Oh my God, it looks so good though, doesn't it? How did you find, Becky, how did you find the kind of the gore, the body horror, the practical effects in this movie compared to Basket Case?
Really good. Really, really good. And like, I think the only way you can really compare them to Basket Case is by saying, this was 8 years later and they had a lot more money.
Yeah.
They look really solid, but at the same time, they don't look too good. There was stuff, in the 90s, as you're sort of coming out of like the real sort of practical effects boom of the 80s, other stuff was starting to be played around with. And obviously, like, they're not doing anything like, sort of Terminator 2, James Cameron stuff. But it's I really like, again, that kind of mashup of stuff like the mannequins, the practical makeup on Frankenhooker, and then later on Jeffrey, the kind of digital stuff that they're putting over the top for the lightning and stuff like that. Like, again, it all just, I think it works with such a lovely balance where you're like, this looks really good, but it all still has that lovely kind of tangible effect to it that you sort of think, like, it doesn't look too good. It still feels like a Henenlotter.
Yeah, completely. And I feel it's so far removed from Basket Case, which was much more based in realism, whether that's deliberately or because of budget constraints. And this one is deliberately much more Tom and Jerry, much more, Coyote and Roadrunner. It's explosions and it's cartoonish. And I think that really is such so different tonally. Whether that is due to the tone of the film, the way he wants it to be, or just having more budget and being able to do more ridiculous things.
I don't know if it's just being a 90s kid as well, Stevie, but I do have a lot of love for that kind of pink and blue electricity sparks that just added to the screen as well, So good. Well, let's finish by talking about the final act with Frankenhooker then, once she is put together. Again, like, this is some of the best stuff of the film, right? When she comes back and goes out in the city for the night.
Yeah, you don't want to blink. You don't want to miss a thing, because every line, every frame, all of it. And also, I have to say, this one is so kind of beautifully shot. Some of the angles and the wide shots are
he never just goes for like bog standard kind of framing, does he? Yeah.
No, it's so well shot. And this whole section is, it's the prize, isn't it? Not saying that, it's not enjoyable before this, but this is what you've been waiting for. And I suppose by only having it the last 25 minutes or whatever, it leaves you wanting more and just feeling this iconic character that is barely on screen for that long. I think it's genius, and as we said, the performance is what makes it, and the design, and it's so original and comic, but also moving, because she's got all the consciousness of the girls whose pure drive is, I must get money, I must sell my body, and that's coming out. But she has this accidental punishment for anyone who messes with her by this electrocution, and I love that. I love it's not her. Anyone that doesn't want, she says, do you want a big piece of this or whatever, and they're kind of like, what? She just like knocks them out of the way. Yeah, like, no, you're useless to me. But it's the fact that she punishes the bad guys by mistake without actually, going, I'm going to electrocute you. Yeah, I think is a lovely little touch that just gives it such heart.
Yeah. Becky, what did you think of this section?
I just think it is such a hilarious conceit that you put together a new being, a creation out of parts made from hookers, and as soon as she's awake, all she wants to do is go out hooking. Yeah. I think that is stone cold hilarious, and I won't be told different. Yeah. Absolutely, just a genius idea for a film. Yeah. And I think it pulls it off brilliantly. Like, it doesn't feel kind of, or it didn't to me, it didn't feel sort of I don't know, unpleasant at all. I just thought it was fucking hilarious.
It really is. It's like an 80s music video. And this era, you know, we had quite a lot of sort of these horror films centered around this sort of stuff. There was Hollywood chainsaw hookers and Nightmare Sisters, and it all had this vibe. And it's such a specific sort of microgenre that is so enjoyable.
Yeah, and you can tell that Henenlotter does have affection for, you know, this section of society, and that he's on their side. There's this, again, sort of coming back to Jeffrey's judgment and morality. He says to Elizabeth when he's got her back to the lab, and he's like, because Zorro punches her head off.
Yeah, or like nearly clean off, like Pez dispenser kind of.
It's hanging on. Yeah, it's like a Pez dispenser, exactly. And so then you get the kind of the iconic sort of staples in the neck, and he puts the bolts in so that he can reanimate her. But he says to her, I didn't want things to turn out this way. I didn't want you to turn out this way. And it's like, well, they were good enough for you for fucking parts, but now, you know,
right.
but you couldn't handle the woman you love, like, living like this or whatever, you know, hanging out with these people. So yeah, I think it is, personally, I think it is played perfectly.
I do as well. And Jeffrey gets his comeuppance by the end, I suppose. Gets decapitated.
It's a lovely moment.
And then how do you find that ending, Stevie, when he wakes up with the female body?
It's delicious, especially when you get the all the melded parts come out of the freezer. You know, you got the upside down boobs with the chin at the top. Like, that is an iconic creation.
Oh,
this is like, it's so Stuart Gordon. It's so like Screaming Mad George. Like, you know,
exactly.
Society. Reanimator. You know, it's
gorgeous.
that. And I was licking my lips and rubbing my hands together. I was like, I wasn't expecting to. Because you get these sorts of teases, right? Because he's put all of the other body parts.
You know, you're going to see it gets struck by lightning. Yeah, you know it's coming back.
And it gets struck by lightning. But I guess I assumed that they were all just kind of going to come out still as their parts. So there'd be like a crawling hand.
Right, yeah.
You know, and a leg sort of hopping around. There's one incredible line earlier when he's trying to find the right legs to give to Elizabeth, and he takes one of them out, and it's one that he's not like happy with, and he just goes, you stand there. Like, all of the, you know, there's all these lovely little moments. So I just kind of thought like one of them was like going to hop out, but no, they come together as these sort of like grotesque amalgams of all of these limbs, and yeah, you get this sort of glorious comeuppance for all the horrible men at the end of this movie.
So good.
Yeah.
So
it's
good.
perfect.
Is it a feminist masterpiece? Maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah,
you know?
it is.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Incredible. And how was this one received, Stevie, at the time, in comparison to Basket Case?
Oh, perfectly. Because critics hated it, and they called it tasteless and juvenile. So a huge success in my books. And that is exactly what Henenlotter wanted. It played right into his hands with that. And then the MPAA, there was a quote when they were sort of doing the censorship that they said, the movie's not rated NC-17. This is beyond NC-17. And like that's them telling them off, and they used that quote, and it was a PR gold mine. And so people flocked to see it. It became another midnight movie triumph. But again, the VHS release was insane for this one, and that was also due to Troma's brilliant marketing, because the front cover looks like Big Trouble in Little China. It looks like one of those fun adventure fantasy films. It's bright colours, Frankenhooker in silly purple writing, and that button that you could press, obviously.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, and apparently Henenlotter recalled that somebody from the MPAA also said the film should be rated not NC-17 but S for shit, apparently.
Yes, that's brilliant.
So there you go. Well, I want to wrap up on Frank Henenlotter in a moment. But first of all, before we finish on Frankenhooker, let's head on over to this week's Wild About Horror, because Freudian cinephile Mary Wild has some stuff to say about Frank Henenlotter's Frankenhooker.
Hey Mike, Mary Wild here. with some thoughts on Frank Henenlotter's Frankenhooker, a film that gives the Frankenstein myth a flamboyantly camp twist whilst sharply critiquing the patriarchal fantasy of assembling the ideal woman from spare parts. We begin with Elizabeth, who complains to her friend that she's too fat. She lists every diet she has tried: liquids, seafood, pills, powders, Weight Watchers. Her boyfriend Jeffrey even stapled her stomach, but nothing works. She can't stop eating. Jeffrey is not a doctor. He works for New Jersey Electric, but calls himself a bioelectrotechnician. He's been kicked out of medical schools and has simply decided to operate anyway. Elizabeth insists it's fine because they're going to be married. This early scene puts everything into place. Jeffrey has already been granted access to his girlfriend's body as if it were a private laboratory. He operates without credentials or oversight, without consent in any meaningful form. He takes her flesh as raw material. The stapled stomach becomes the first gesture of ownership. What we see here is phallocentric logic at work, a worldview in which the male subject positions himself as the authority who decides how a woman should look, how much she should eat, and how much space she may occupy. Elizabeth's appetite is pathologized. Her hunger exceeds the boundaries of acceptability drawn by men like Jeffrey. He feels entitled to intervene, literally cutting her down to size. And soon, the machine he designs for her father, a remote-controlled lawnmower, becomes the device that tears her apart. Elizabeth is sliced into tiny pieces. The apparatus of male control devours the woman it claims to protect. The technology Jeffrey builds to manage the world becomes the very thing that pulverizes the female body he wants to reshape. After the accident, the townspeople speak of Elizabeth as a jigsaw puzzle with missing, scattered parts. This language captures a patriarchal fantasy, femininity as a mystery and enigma needing to be pieced together by the male intellect. Jeffrey leans fully into this fantasy. He has salvaged Elizabeth's severed head and stored it in a nutrient tank. His aim is to reassemble her using parts from other women. This brings us into direct dialogue with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Like Victor Frankenstein, Jeffrey is intoxicated by creation. He seeks mastery over life and death, convinced that science entitles him to make a woman in his own image of perfection. Shelley warned us about this desire, the drive to produce life without responsibility, to dominate nature, to bypass the messy agency of real human beings. Jeffrey inherits that legacy. The monster he will ultimately produce is the return of his own hubris, stitched together from the violence he enacts upon women. As Jeffrey spirals, he confesses to his mother that something bad is happening to his mind. His reasoning is warped, he feels dissociated from reality, unable to distinguish right from wrong. He says he's plunging headfirst into a black void. Jeffrey glues Elizabeth's face onto images of nude models. He declares, "I can make you into anything you want. I can make you the centerfold goddess of the century. I just need the live parts." The reconstruction fantasy conforms entirely to Jeffrey's desire. He goes to Times Square, hires sex workers, and brings them to a motel room. They assume he wants to role-play doctor and patient. Instead, he produces a bag of homemade super crack, engineered to make the body explode into fragments. Before the carnage, we get a long, uncomfortable scene of Jeffrey measuring the women's bodies. Nipples, buttocks, thighs, scrutinizing them like merchandise. This is systematic fetishization, which is a defense mechanism against castration anxiety. The man fixates on isolated body parts to neutralize the threat of female sexuality as a total force. Jeffrey's obsessive browsing, his clinical detachment, his reduction of these women to components, all of it reveals how patriarchy fragments the female form to maintain mastery over it. But then the dynamic shifts. The women find the drugs, smoke them, and descend into euphoric chaos. The room erupts with laughter, dancing, and unbridled eroticism. Two women slip away to kiss each other. Jeffrey panics and cries out, "Stop that! It's not natural. You're like cats with catnip. Your body wasn't meant to do that." This is one of the film's sharpest insights. Jeffrey can objectify women endlessly, but the moment they experience pleasure outside his control, specifically lesbian pleasure, he becomes terrified. The infinitude of feminine jouissance overwhelms him. It is unmanageable, autonomous, and excessive. He loses his imaginary position as the center of their erotic world. The explosion sequence that follows annihilates the women into pieces, a literalization of how patriarchy would rather destroy female desire than coexist with it. Jeffrey collects the scattered parts, returns home, and stitches them together with Elizabeth's head. Lightning animates the composite body. His late girlfriend awakens as a creature of pure erotic drive. Hungry, aggressive, voracious, repeating lines from the sex workers' lives. Got any money? Looking for a date? The reanimated Elizabeth embodies everything Jeffrey feared. A woman moved by unruly appetites, ungovernable and overflowing. The monstrous feminine in Frankenhooker emerges from the refusal of womanly desires to be tamed. Frankenhooker presents the patriarchal imagination laid bare. Fear of female hunger, the fetishistic fragmentation of women's bodies, desire that exceeds male control, and the dream of solving the mystery of femininity through science. The film exaggerates this to grotesque extremes, revealing the violence underlying these preoccupations. Until next time.
A big thank you to the wonderful Mary Wilde. And don't forget, if you want to hear more of Mary's takes, you can sign up to her Patreon, patreon.com/Mary Wilde. And you can also now order her book, Psychoanalyzing Horror Cinema. You can get that in any good bookshop. So, Stevie, Becky, we should wrap up. I want to finish by asking you, a little bit about your favourites in Henenlotter's career. Stevie, it may be one of the films we've just talked about. It may be something different. What is your favourite Frank Henenlotter movie?
I mean, I'm a purist, so I have to say Basket Case. But then, because I do think that stands on its own compared to his other aesthetic, and I would say Brain Damage.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you said, Becky, you watched Basket Case, and then Frankenhooker. So you didn't get that middle step where you can really see where it's going. And so it is quite a shock, I imagine. You're kind of like, whoa, who done what?
We're in a different world.
And I think...
If I'd had more time, I would have triple billed it.
I think Brain Damage is that little link between the two. Yeah. And I think it's another near-perfect movie.
How would you rank those three, Becky?
Probably say... So Basket Case is definitely top.
Yeah.
And maybe I need a bit more time with Frankenhooker to like figure out exactly where, but like, so I'd maybe just go Basket Case and then the other two like joint. But
and the Basket Case sequels are after that.
Well, I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah.
I love Brain Damage. I absolutely love it.
It's so good. I need to give that a rewatch as well, but from memory, that would be my order too.
And
that it would go Basket Case, Brain Damage, Frankenhooker.
Good.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Just coloured liquids
pops.
and lights, and also that link, because obviously in this there's that weird thing where he drills into his own brain to have good ideas.
Oh my god,
that's another little link. It's so horrible, but it's also so surreal because there's no blood.
That bit where he's going in and he's going, stewardesses. Yeah, so I can bribe my way onto a plane and then I'll just get some stewardesses to come with me. And then he sort of goes, no, that will never work. That will never work. And he sort of moves it slightly and then he puts it back in and he's like, aha, hookers, you know.
Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't like it.
I think Frankenhooker, though, I think it's his most accessible movie, I would say, because it's lean into the satire a bit more broadly and, you know, and it's sort of view of subculture and stuff. And I think it's probably... the most widely watchable.
It's probably, I mean, this is all relative, but probably his most mainstream of his movies, even though I don't think I'd call any of them mainstream.
No.
But, you know, amazing. Well, guys, thank you. What an absolute joy. I've missed doing this with you both. This has been so much fun. Stevie, where can people find you and your stuff? Is Brain Rot still out there in the world for people to
Brain
find?
Rot is still out there. We on all podcast platforms, over 100 episodes, and then also Patreon is still open, which has got like 160 episodes or something ridiculous.
Amazing.
That is always there. And you can find that wherever you find your podcasts.
Incredible. Becky, what about you? Where can people come and find you?
On social media, so that's where I share all my stuff. You can find me at Bunny Darke. I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky. You can find my other podcast, my main podcast that I co-host with the brilliant Kevin Lyons, Hammer Time. We are rewatching every Hammer horror movie from like the early 1950s through to the mid 1970s. I think we've done about 10 so far. We're about to do a mailbag episode and then take a break for a couple of weeks for Christmas, but it's only us taking a break. The episodes will still keep coming out. That is released every week on a Wednesday. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to work with me, go to my website, which is beckydarke.com.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Love you guys. Bye.
Want a date?
And there we go. A big thank you to the brilliant Stevie Webb and Becky Darke. What a fun discussion. What a fun double bill. I loved it. Let me know what you thought of this week's films, Basket Case and Frankenhooker. Did you love them as much as Becky, Stevie and I? Get in touch. You can email me, evolutionofhorror@gmail.com. You can also find Evolution of Horror on Instagram and Facebook. You could find me, Mike Muncer, on Instagram and Blue Sky. If you want extra bonus additional weekly episodes and you want to get ad-free versions of these main episodes, sign up to our Patreon, patreon.com/Evolution of Horror. This podcast is part of the Evolution of Horror network. If you want to listen to more podcasts just like this, you can check out the Hammer Time podcast with Becky Darke and Kevin Lyons, where they are going through each and every Hammer horror film in chronological order. And you can also check out Carry On Up the podcast, slightly more niche, in which me and Susan Kalman are working our way through every Carry On film in the franchise. And if you can, please do support us by dropping us a little rating and review on your podcast app of choice. So next week, well, we move from something so niche and micro budget to something much bigger and more blockbuster adjacent. Next week, I am going to be joined by the Empire podcast's Chris Hewitt to discuss two killer robot movies from the 1980s. James Cameron's The Terminator from 1984, and Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop from 1987. Ah, what a double bill. Join us next week for all of this and more on the evolution of horror.